Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a very exciting and enriching day so far. Industry leaders from top tractor manufacturers, component makers, and software providers have given insights on how the farm equipment industry is faring in India. To further give you more perspective on global trends, we have Mr. Abid Hussain, Head Product Marketing and Strategy, New Holland, Mexico, and Mike Rianda, CEO, Kings River Tractor. Mr. Hussain, I would like to request you to present your perspective and then we will move on to the next segment.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm seeing the Mexico market in product portfolio for New Holland tractors. I hope everyone is safe and sound during this crisis. It's really an honor to be part of this virtual summit, and I congratulate ET Auto team for organizing this event. I'm here to present my view on global perspective. Hope viewers can learn something new by end of this session. As I also mentioned earlier that I'm working as a product portfolio lead for Mexico market for New Holland brand. And my portfolio consists tractors from 25 horsepower to 600 horsepower, and then hay and forage equipments for livestock farmers, and also a special tractor for orchard farmers, and then again small tractors for protected farming. So as we all know that the world is changing and evolving, so in this session we will discuss global agriculture and farm equipment mega trends, and how New Holland as a leader in technology innovation and sustainability since 125 years has been making impact and product to help farmers to achieve more in less. In this session, we are going to talk about agriculture value chain. Let's go ahead with the next slide. As we all know that the generic food chain is that we are getting everything from farmers, retailers are buying from farmers, and then we all are consuming. But there's a bigger picture that I wanted to discuss with all you. An agricultural value chain consists of many stakeholders that contributes to get your food at your dinner table. From farm equipment manufacturer like us to financial institutions providing support to buy farming inputs, everyone plays its role at back end, where farmers do the central hard work to produce food. As we all know, when great lockdown happened in 2020, somewhere around March, April, May time, so the supply chain was disrupted. FE manufacturing industry was also affected in April and May time because of lockdown. So at that time, farm equipment manufacturer has provided farmers with the sufficient valuable inputs so that the farming operation could not be affected. Okay, but after the lockdown, if we see the GDP of G20 countries, we can see two mixed trends. One, on the top of the graph, you can see countries like Latin countries, Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, and then America, are on the positive trend of GDP, positive GDP. And on the second trend, you can see negative trend of agriculture GDP of the countries like Italy and Europe, mainly in Europe. So positive news is that we are on a positive trend. Okay, but going back and coming back from the lockdown, we can see that the tractors have shown positive sales. So farm equipment industries are coming strong in August 2020, especially in India and some part of Europe, for example, Germany, and in USA, you also can see that the sales are positive compared to the same month last year. Now let's discuss a little bit on the evolution of farming and farm equipment. It's very important. The food and agriculture industry have made enormous strides in the past half century. Green revolution technologies have tripled global agriculture production since 1960, and the industry has become increasingly globalized, eliminating world poverty and hunger will involve tackling those trends as well as fighting income inequality. Growth strategies will be necessary that address not only agriculture but also job creation and income diversification. So in this slide, we will try to understand all those crises that are happening to the world. We all know that the world will reach by a population of 10 billion by 2050. At that time, we would require 70% more food to feed the world. At the same time, the village population is moving towards urbanization. So there will be increase of 2.4 billion urban population by 2050. And also we are seeing that 800 million people are in hunger every year. So it's the biggest problem that the world is facing right now. On the other aspect, if we see the land is getting degraded, the soil are getting degraded, and we are also having reduced natural resources. Not to forget climate change. Because of climate change, we are having floods and the farming are facing biggest problem in this era. The last and very important issue that the world is facing is food waste. Every year, around 30% of the food is getting wasted, what the world is producing. So you can understand the world is not working as a balanced environment because one way the food is getting wasted and other way the world is many people who are sleeping in hunger. So we need to solve it anyhow. So farm equipment industry and agriculture scientists are coming together to solve these problems. We will discuss this in the coming slides. In the coming slides, we will discuss about the farm segmentation, farming and equipment segmentation. If you see a generic segmentation, farming segmentation, you can easily divide in 5 to 6 segments, but mainly they are grain segment, grain farming segment, livestock farming, orchard farming, vegetable farming, or the new greenhouse or garden farming. New Holland, being leader in farm equipment products, having a history of 125 years of innovation and technology. If we see an America requirement, and I'm talking about NAFTA, LATAM, and Central America, we have a dedicated product portfolio for each segment. So if you talk about grains, we have bigger tractors, bigger horsepower, ranging from 200 to 600 horsepower that can do all kind of job like land preparation and every activity, maintenance in this segment. We are also having sprayers, then implements, and big harvesters. If you go on the livestock, we have a middle horsepower tractor. We call it all-purpose heavy-duty tractors. We have T5 and T6 with all kind of loader applications, and we have forage harvesters, which is a self-propeller also as an implement. In this segment, we also offer telehandler and compact loaders. If you go to the orchard segment, that Mexico is very famous for, we have lots of orchard farms here in Mexico. So for that application, we have smaller tractors, and then we have for narrow and low profile tractors with their implements like sprayers. We also have grape harvester for vineyards that is very famous in some countries, Latin America, also California, USA. And then coming to the vegetable segment, we have high clearance tractors with sprayers. And going back now to the smaller tractors application in greenhouses, we have smaller tractors and their implements. Okay, so this is all we have serving all segment of farming application, that at the end of the day, the farmers goes happy with our product, and he does not have to wait something customized or something special application for their farming. coming presentation, we will discuss about how these crises that we already discussed, like population growth, food security, and everything, and how we can convert this as an opportunity using agriculture 4.0. With a forecast of population growth of 70% by 2050 and arable land reducing, climate change, and food security, more yield per hectare is what farmers are looking for. So newer technologies like automated and connected products, energy independent farming, new methods in farming, and new methods in producing food can do this job along with cross-industry application technology to learn and adapt itself for higher productivity every farming season. New Holland, as a leader in technology and innovation, has systems to monitor and improve every activity for farming. For example, weather and crop management, we have AgXtend. Fleet monitoring, we have MyPLM Connect, and auto-guided precision farming, and all those systems connected to farm management system, which is called AgDNA, that monitors, recommend, and improve yield per hectares and work towards more sustainable farming. It's very important that all the systems are connected to the core farm management system for perfect results. Going further, we will discuss about sustainable farming, how a farmer can generate its own energy and it can serve to the environment a better with no waste. New Holland, as a leader in technology and innovation, has made its first T6 methane power tractor, and it's world first 100% methane power tractor. So in the coming slide, we will see a video to give you a glimpse about sustainable farming or energy independent farming. New Holland, part of CNH Industrial, was reconfirmed as industrial leader in Dow Jones Sustainability Indices and have won many awards in the past. So here we wanted to show that we are very much committed to our sustainability farming. OECD FAO has recently issued an outlook for 2020 and 2029. So here I would just give you a small description. This report gives a highlight that there will be a 15% growth in agriculture production in coming decade. Greenhouse gas emission from livestock is expected to decrease by 0.5%. It shows a positive sign that might be people are looking for sustainable farming. International trade will continue to be essential for food security. Growth is expected in Latin America. I recommend everyone to go through this report. You can find it on the internet. In this chart, what I'm trying to show is that after this crisis and lockdown, and we have started seeing a positive GDP and growth in all the developing and developed nations. So if we see all the GDP agriculture forecast for G20 countries for coming 2020 and 2022, we see a positive numbers. Okay, so numbers are not so big, but it's still in positive. So we expect a growth in farming and agriculture value chain, and also including farming equipment manufacturers. Okay, this is all I have. I hope everybody enjoyed my slides. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Over to you, Dipanshu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abid, for giving such an insightful presentation. It is indeed gives us the right picture of the agriculture and farm equipment industry globally. Moving on to the next session, I would like to ask Mr. Mike about his view on the farm sector equipment market and how it has been impacted in the pandemic and what has been the scenario especially in his market, United States of America.
Thank you for the introduction. Here in the U.S., especially on the West Coast, where we're a lot of fruits and vegetables and wine grapes, we've had a couple different pandemics this year. We're just coming out of wildfire season, and For that, most of the grapes are going to get put on the ground and not made into wine because of smoke taint. So that has actually been more of an impact than the COVID situation here in the U.S. Our volumes have been, I would say, right on par to last year's numbers, if not a little bit better. Haven't seen real much impact except for a lot more money spent on PPP equipment and safety equipment for the workers and for our own businesses to keep our employees safe.
So was there any disruption in the supply chain? Was there deliveries of tractors were late to your dealership? And what was the reaction of the customers? Were they going to the dealership, or there was altogether a new form of sales happening on the ground?
The parts supply was getting tight for repairs on equipment, and the lead times were getting a lot longer to receive the repair parts. As far as new tractors, we had plenty of inventory to start off with when the pandemic hit. We are actually starting to receive some equipment from some operating regions, and some other regions are slower to produce and to put out the equipment. But on a whole, I would say the next 2 months will be getting a lot tighter on equipment.
I would like to move on to Mr. Abid. Mr. Abid, can you tell us more about in the Mexico market, what is happening right now? What has been the impact of the pandemic in that market particularly? And if you can give a broader picture of the North America and South America, both continents.
Mike has already mentioned our dealers had a sufficient inventory back in April and May. So there was not an issue of tractor supply to the farmers. There was an issue of part supply in April-May time. And also the production was affected in those times because of the supply chain disruption. We have not seen any negative sales compared to 2019 if we see. If we see farm equipment industry here in Mexico, it was on a plus number compared to 2019.
So we can say that the tractor as a segment was largely unaffected from the pandemic, be it India or be it in any other developed or developing markets. I would like to understand more on the global trends. You have spoken about them in your presentation, but I would like to hear from you as well as from Mike, what kind of requirements he's seeing from the customers, what kind of tractors he's getting right now on that side, if you both can give us some light.
Well, as we're starting to see, the technology is really starting to come into play with the tractors. Besides your basic telematics and GPS and rate controls and stuff like that, we're starting to see here in the U.S. Robotics come in with self-driving tractors. Just a lot of different technology being thrown into these tractors. So you're seeing a lot more complicated piece of equipment being given to the end user. So it's getting a little more complicated to operate and to keep up with the times here in the U.S. and other places.
But that also gives an advantage for you, because if it's complex, user might come back to you again and again for better services and better after sales. If I'm not wrong.
No, I think you're correct on that. It's just hard for old guys like me to get the technology down and to understand it.
Abid, would you like to share some of your thoughts on this side?
Yeah, I agree with Mike because I also know farmers do not like technology if we are telling them. But yes, once we show them the results and productivity, started getting interest. So this is what Mike is saying correctly. And this is very hard for us also to convince them. Over the time, I see this precision farming, it's going to boom. It has come to everybody, because I think, yes, I know there would be a difference between developing country and developed nations.
Yeah.
Like precision application would be different for India, and it's going to be entirely different from Europe and USA. But yes, I see this coming, okay? And also I see sustainable farming coming. And the biggest thing I'm seeing is the drip irrigation, because drip irrigation, if you see, has also huge potential in coming years.
You have experience of the Indian market as well. So, in contrast to that, Indian tractor manufacturers are yet to get to the telematics, at least in terms of technology. So, how do you see that? What kind of technologies will penetrate first in Indian market? And because electrification is one of the ongoing technology across borders, so what are your thoughts on that? And what kind of products we can see in India in coming future compared to the global market?
No, as you said that telematics, I started seeing many Indian product manufacturer. Holland India has came with a telematic solution. We call it fleet management. So this technology is already coming down, because India is a market of around 7 million, 8 million tractors per year. It's very important to have this technology to monitor. In India also there's a misuse of diesel in tractors, so that you can also monitor using that. So I think many companies are coming with that solution.
Can you also give some thoughts on what type of new technology is shaping up the product strategies of the companies globally?
Well, you're seeing, you mentioned it there a little bit, was electrification, and there's a lot of alternative fuels that are being looked at, and trying to find the right solution for the right application. Electrification, I think, is going to be here someday, but I think it's going to be a little bit longer to develop the infrastructure. The same with all the alternative fuels, is the infrastructure is going to be where the downfall of it's going to be. We may be able to produce the equipment, but the infrastructure and getting the infrastructure to the right places is where we're going to see a downfall, and a lot longer to take into effect.
Abid, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with Mike, but before answering this, I have a question for Mike. Mike, what do you think, which would be coming first to US market, electric vehicle, electric tractor, or autonomous tractors? What do you think should be coming first, or combination of both?
That was the same
I think
question I was about to ask.
I think you're going to see both of them. I think autonomous is probably closer right now from what I've seen here in my area. We have probably 10 autonomous vehicles running around right now, semi-autonomous, because they still have to have an operator in the seat because of safety reasons right now. But I could see the autonomous being a little bit ahead of the electrification. But when you talk alternative fuels, I think some of the gases will be a little more accepted and a little more easily put into job applications.
So when you say about the alternative fuel, so which one do you think would be really feasible in your market, as well as if Abid can talk about Mexico, as well as for India, if we talk about the alternative fuel, which methane, LNG, CNG, which one will take over?
New Holland has already solution for methane power tractor that we already saw in the presentation. As of now, it looks feasible. Yes, we can see further also LNG and CNG coming down the line, but we have to develop the technology for that. And also, I see this is feasible for bigger kind of farms. Also, the smaller farms can do it, but the product will be customized as per their requirement. I don't know what Mike has to say about that.
No, I think you're totally correct on that, Abid. Methane, the LNG, the propane, all that is, I think, will be the first one out of the box and ready to produce and be accepted, even in the small farms. I think because you take a country like Mexico that has a pretty good abundance of natural gas and propane, and they have a pretty good network set up of propane right now. I think you'll see that in the smaller tractors, and yeah, I just think that's the direction that's going to come first in the alternative fuels. I mean, there's small tractors out there now, electrification, but you don't have the runtime. You have to have 10 hours of runtime basically to make it pay for itself.
Okay, so that was on the tech side. Now, coming to the customer side and the ownership of tractors, you are dealing directly with the customers. Abid is also working on the marketing side of the product. How do you see the ownership in USA in terms of, people usually own their vehicles, or it's a subscription base or a lease base? How's the scenario there, and what's the thing in Mexico?
Well, I could, from my perspective in my California area, you're seeing 75+% of the purchases are purchases, and then 25% or less are leases. So they a lot of guys want to keep up on technology, so they'll just lease a tractor. So they're always getting a new technology. I mean, today you buy your iPad and tomorrow it's obsolete. So that's kind of what their feeling is they're going shorter periods of time of owning or leasing the tractor and having the turnaround where they have new technology in a year or two.
Abid, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and if we see the Mexico market, the Pancho, here farmers buy tractor for life. So as of now, we are not seeing any rental option, but things are changing post-pandemic. Yeah, dealers here are also trying to give an option as a rental. But as of now, I would say close to 98% farmers are buying tractor for their own. As of now, it's a big thing here in Mexico, but things are changing a little bit after pandemic.
Talking specifically about customers, after pandemic, do you think there has been a change in their behavior, or how do they look at tractors, or the buying purchase pattern? Any new trends you are seeing evolving? Mike and Abid, if you can throw some light, are they going online, or is something like that happening at your side?
I've seen it in the smaller tractors. People have gone online and did a lot of research when they come in or they call in. You're seeing a lot more intelligent questions being asked and them knowing more or less what they want right away. On the bigger equipment side, no, that's still a hands-on. It might not be in person, but it may be on the telephone where they place their order. They know they trust us to give them the right piece of equipment, and they know their horsepower range where they want to be. So, I mean, it's still on the larger, more commercial side. It's a phone call and a delivery. Where on the smaller equipment, it's more. They know what they want. It's all done over the internet, and that's kind of where it's gone right now.
Abid, would you like to add something on this?
Yes, as our model is B2B, we are very much connected online with dealers. In the past few months, we have given trainings whenever the dealers is requesting. So we are very much connected online with the dealers. There was no issue, and also connected through phone and everything. Now, as the technology has reduced the gap between place to another place, so everyone is connected well post pandemic, and the work is. I think that's why the results are positive if we compare than the last 2000.
Okay, one last question to Mike. How has been the business so far? If we, just minus the pandemic, how has been the last year for you? How is the overall industry doing, farm equipment industry in USA?
Surprisingly, the the industry's been pretty resilient. Expensive has gone up, because of the pandemic, because of all the safety procedures you had to put into effect. But as far as buying purchases and equipment sales, it's very surprising that it has been as good was. I was expecting a pretty good downturn myself, and I think we'll be plus 1% or 2 this year from last year.
Thank you. Abid, would you like to add something on this? Or how is the scene in the Mexico and overall developing markets? You have been in the global market working on the different side. So what are you seeing? Businesses as usual or it has increased? Is there a pent-up demand? What's the actual?
As rightly mentioned by Mike, compared to 2018 to 2019, there was a drop of sales. But if we compare it from 2019 to 2020, we see a positive increment. I think it's a positive number that we are seeing compared to 2019.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abid and Mr. Mike, for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Abid and Mr. Mike, for joining us today. Both of them are available online and you can ask them questions on the global market on the comment box. Thank you so much.